Hey everybody, welcome to Losing Your Mind with Chris Cosentino. I'm your host, Chris Cosentino. We are here to talk about people that inspire, and all my guests are inspiring in so many different ways. And I'm really looking forward to digging deep into how they got to where they are, to the top of their game, how hard they've worked, how much they've given up, and how they're giving back. So without further ado, here's our next guest. Hey everybody, welcome to Losing Your Mind with Chris Cosentino. I am here with Jet Tila, and we're going to get into a whole slew of different things. We were just together doing some television shooting. We've done it a couple times now, and we had a really interesting conversation in the car, which kind of blew my mind. And so here we are. Jet, welcome.
Hey, what's up, Chris? How's it going, man? You went right for the gut shot. I like that.
No, but
it's a good thing. It's a good thing. No, really.
It was. Look, I think, a lot of people have seen you compete. People have seen you on, whether it's Guys Grocery Games or Guys Ranch. You've been on TOC, which is Tournament of Champions for folks out there. And Guy talks a lot about all the really crazy cool stuff you've done. So let's start off with the Guinness book, the Guinness records.
Okay.
Can you start with those? Because that's kind of crazy. Not many people can say they have Guinness records, right?
Yeah, I guess that's true. I currently believe I have 6 culinary world records. And what? I know. I think what people find interesting. So previous to television, my background. Part of my background was working at a company called Bon Appetit Management, and not a lot of people who watch television know that there's this entire world of what we call a corporate food service. So I was the first team at Google who did the first Asian, second team post IPO, first, the guys who didn't make $1 bazillion is basically what I'm saying. So I used to do a lot of the big tech companies, universities, and then while I was there. We were a big company. We fed 20,000 people a day in one campus, and we had hundreds of campuses. So we understood big food. So one of the things that we wanted to do was to break a world record. And the first culinary world record I attempted to break was the world's largest pad thai, right? Like 500 pounds. I submitted it to Guinness, and they're like, sorry, a pad thai is technically a stir fry. And that record currently is 800 pounds. And
100 pounds is the record.
It was at that point. And I was like, well, screw you guys then. I'm going to break the world record. I mean, we're going to go all the way. So I'm going to give you this very short story. I broke the first world record, that first stir fry. I did 1,000 pounds. Someone came over the top at 2 or 3, and then I topped them again at 4,000. So
how do you stir fry 4,000 pounds?
Yeah, the Guinness is really very strict about world records. Anything from a culinary point of view has to be done just like it's a portion of 4, right? Like a restaurant portion. So I crafted a 25-foot wide pan, right? 1/4-inch steel, 25 welded together into a circle. I put a 6-inch lip on it. We sunk it over about 3,000 pounds of charcoal with a giant crane. We use giant pizza peels and long extended, those of us have cooked on tilt skillets know that we have big paddles, and we just went for it. I did it at the University of Massachusetts at Amherst, which has been my partner for 3 world records. So that's it, dude. It just started from you can't do this. Someone was like, it's not possible. And I was like, hold my beer. And 20 years later, and 6 world records, there's just been a lot of those, dude.
Isn't it funny? You just said something, and I think is really important. You can't do that. How many times have you heard that and been like, you know what? Fuck you, I can. Right? I think that's a really important thing, because when I was younger, that was what I was told. You're never going to make it as a chef, or maybe you should think about doing this. The power of being told you can't, it's kind of like telling your teenager, you know what? You shouldn't drink. And what is the kid going to do? Yeah.
Right away.
Cool idea, Dad. And what do? They run out and they're in the corner.
Yeah. I'm going to expand your point even wider, though. I think you bring up the one good point. I think going off that, there is a common thread in the people that do what we do, in the women and the men and everyone who wears the white coat. I think we are naturally kind of rebellious. We are naturally thrill seekers. So I think it's a personality profile, right?
Oh yeah, it's definitely a person. I mean, somebody said to me the other day, you know, cooking is still the last bastion of pirates left, right?
Wow.
It's like a bunch of, it's kind of like, I look at it with the idea of, and I go back to skateboarding a lot because that's a
Right.
really powerful memories of my childhood. And I think that's what skateboarding was, is everybody is allowed to be themselves, but they're all participating in the same thing and you support them. And I think that's what the restaurant is, right? It's like you're a band of misfits all getting together to make the meal go perfectly. And I think that's amazing, right? It's like, I don't care who you are and what you choose to be in life. And as long as we're all working together to make food great, like make people smile.
I love that. So I run with a pretty hardcore group of military and ex-military guys. And I think cooking, we're the anti-military, right?
Oh.
Because we have to work as a unit. We each have specialties and we have missions every day, but we're not like put together. We're not, we're like, we are pirates. So to your point, I think you exactly nailed it.
It's the anti-military.
Yeah.
Right. Nobody has to shave properly. Nobody has to have the buzz cut and the crew.
But there is a chain of command.
There is a chain of command.
Right. There are mission parameters. Things need to get done, or rest services go to hell and people are unhappy and people, you know what I mean? Or you get fired. So, oh man, I never thought about it.
Really good. I like that. Yeah, I would have never made it in the military. I'll be 100% honest. I would have not done well.
I don't know, man. You're super fit, so I think you would have been fine.
I don't think it's the fit component that would have been my problem.
Right. Yeah. No. And that's what I've done. If I wasn't in cooking, I would either be in law enforcement or military. My brother's a LAPD officer, and there's a long history of familial friends and family that are military and police officers in our circle.
So a lot of people out there, when you look at cooking as a whole, right, there's a lot of people who look and go, I can do that. Or how come they're on TV? And how did they get there? And, oh, that looks a lot easier than they make it seem. That's not that hard. I kind of would really love for you to give everybody an understanding of how you got to where you are now, because it's like, you've paid your dues. Like, you've done and worked your ass off for years to be where you are now. And you are doing some really fun stuff consistently. And I think not only on television, but out of television, you and your wife are doing a whole slew of different things. I really would love you to share how you got to where you are now.
You got it.
And then what you gave up to get there too, because I think that's a thing that people forget, right? It's like, you've made it to where you are now because you gave up things to get there. And we talk about that a lot,
For sure. So I'm going to give you the Cliff's Notes to not bore our audience or your audience. I think this is one of the best podcasts in the business because it's so raw and real. So here's the real short story. My family immigrated here in 1966. Thai Chinese immigrants. The highest level of education in my family was a junior college. It was an AA. And we have been in the grocery and restaurant business for 3 generations, for over 100 years now. My grandparents escaped China, moved to Thailand, to Bangkok. My father's family moved to Bangkok. So you think about these Chinese immigrants in a new city, and what do? You create food from your city, right? And it becomes a place to congregate. It creates community. So my family's Hainanese Chinese. So we had a little Hainanese cafe in Bangkok. My dad's born there. My mom's born there, separately, right? 66, they both immigrate here because of the politics of Thailand being, allies to America during the Vietnam War. A lot of Thais start to immigrate here. My family came in first group, and they met here. We opened the first Thai grocery store and some of the first Thai restaurants in the history of this country. This is 1972 and 78. The restaurant, the markets in 70 72 and the restaurants in 78.
That's
Jumping
years ago. I was born in 72. That's
right. The year you were born, we had a 600 square foot little store called Bangkok Market in LA. And it was a little trading post. And stop me anytime, dude. I bet, you know.
Oh, this is great.
Yeah.
This to me is what's really important. I think things weren't handed to you on a silver platter. You've had to work to get where you are. And I think there's definitely a disconnect with the amount of work that goes into what we do to getting to where we are. And it's like, I think it's easy to cast stones. It's easy to watch a show and say, I can do it better than that. Because no, actually, it's really a lot harder than you think we make.
Oh my God, it's the hardest thing in the world.
Hard.
You know, I'm going to have to go off topic for a second because I don't think anyone's ever flipped it on you on your own show. And I'm known for doing this. I did this to Alton Brown on his cast and other people. So I've been a fan of Chris Cosentino for over 20 years, right? Before I as a cook, Chris you're in a generation, just a few years older than me, right? Like I would have been a freshman when you're a senior kind of thing. But like watching your life, do you feel that way? Because I think there's a perception of television chefs. There's a group that have never really like crushed it, killed it, burned it like we did, like the 10,000 hours in restaurant kitchens, and then that have kind of just made it because they're great on TV. And that's another skill, and I don't take anything away.
Yeah.
So how does it make you feel as a chef that did both, bro? That went to Europe, killed yourself, and did TV. Do you ever go like, my road was harder than a lot of people's? Or I mean, you know, and when people go, dude, I could do that, how does it make you feel, Cosentino?
Thanks.
I know.
I think, you know, as you know, it all happened by doing Iron Chef.
Yep.
Right. I got asked to go on Iron Chef, battled Mario.
But previous to that, you were already a well-known chef.
I guess, like, I don't.
He's modest, dude. You're modest. I'm gonna say I knew who you were and I followed your career. So
it was going on TV was like, I just wanted to compete on Iron Chef. That was my thing, right? Like, it was amazing. Like going there, and you know, I fucking had a white rooster. You remember? I had a white rooster mohawk. So I showed up with my Italian checker tablecloth, shell-toe Adidas, like,
I love it,
ready to rock. And then it just kind of spiraled from there. And I looked at television as an opportunity to put more butts in seats.
Mm-hmm. Marketing tool, right?
It's a marketing tool, and it kind of backfired on me at that time.
In what way?
People stopped, you know, there was this perception I wasn't in my own restaurant, that I was, and this was a different time. I mean, this was years ago, right? Yeah. And then I had my own series with our own Sanchez, and then I quit TV. I quit TV for a long time.
Got it.
And you know, I think now I'm kind of entering back and I'm having fun again. And I think it's just different, you know.
Yeah.
I think, you know, Top Chef Masters was the first time I came back to TV, and I had been away for like 4 years plus.
Took a big break.
Yeah, Top Chef Masters was like, hey, I can go here. There's no shenanigans. That does not mean Brian Malarkey for all of you folks out there. When I say shenanigans, it does not mean Brian Malarkey. What that means is that means no more games and no goofing off. It was cooking. I just wanted to cook. And you know, that kind of reopened the door again. I had a lot of fun. I cooked with some great people in Las Vegas, and that's where I met Shirley for the first time.
Actually, that's where we both met Shirley. So I didn't mean to derail this convo. I can get back on my story.
No, let's get back. Nobody gives 2 shits about what I have to say.
That's not true. Bro. That's not true. All right, if you want, I'll pick your brain later. But I love it, man. So I'll keep going. But if you want, again,
I think it's really important. Like you start. So you had the family-owned grocery store, and then came the restaurant.
Yeah. So I basically did my apprentice. I had multiple apprenticeships at the same time. In the context of what we do for a living, you used to have to apprentice to your careers, right? There was no culinary school back in the day, right? So we had a grocery store, which was 5,000 SKUs of all Southeast Asian ingredients. So I basically got to learn the encyclopedia of Asian, Southeast Asian food in those 10 years, 15 years. We had restaurants. So I got to work my way up from cleaning toilets to dishwasher, all the way up to every single position in a restaurant. We had farms partnerships in Mexico in the Central Valley. So I saw the
unique ingredients for you guys. Like, and I think that's really important to talk about because Southeast Asian herbs are almost impossible to find, especially at that time. And they're still difficult. It's hard to find wing beans. It's hard to find
cilantro or whatever herb you want to call it.
Yeah, like those things are very, very important that I think that's huge because, you know, you go to Southeast Asia and people are, what is this herb? And they're like bitter herb, sour herb, sweet herb. Well, what's that one? That one's bitter herb too. No, it's got a different name. What's the name? No, bitter, right?
It's its own encyclopedia, right? Like, and I was learning multiple encyclopedias concurrently from age like 5 until 20, right? So I had literally 20 years of just ingredient knowledge and cooking knowledge. So we were vertically integrated. I didn't even know what that word meant, but my dad was this visionary who later turned it the other way, which we should get to in this podcast.
We will.
Right. And so my dad was this genius. He's really credited for starting Thai food in America. And then, so then the 70s become the 90s. And the 90s started the California cuisine movement, right? And then all of these chefs were infusing Asian foods, all the chefs we both know, are infusing Asian foods into their French and Mediterranean food. And there was only one grocery store in Los Angeles where they could get everything, and that was the Bangkok market.
So that's where Joachim Splichal used to send his staff, right?
Joachim,
I know the story.
Right? Oh, you do know the story?
I know the story of Joachim. That was part of that station's job to stop at your market to get the ingredients. If I'm correct, it was for lobster harahan.
Yes, and many other things, right?
And you think I know that shit?
How do you know this story, dude? That's crazy.
I worked with Tracy Desjardins for years. She used to tell me Scotty Newman, Paul Aronstam, and oh my God.
That's crazy.
Jeff Inahara. All those guys used to tell me the stories of how Joachim would make people go to the store as part of their, you're on your way to work, you pick up your mise en place from the store, and it was for lobster harahan. I think it was for foie gras mango with, and
I don't even know the dishes. I just knew what they came and got. So this is amazing.
Yeah. So like I can remember hearing all these stories working with Tracy and Scott and Paul, because they all worked at Patina. And the stories were priceless, how they used to have to go pick up their ingredients on the way to work from that.
Dude, and who was the kid who spoke English, who was the son of the owners?
You were dealing with them.
And then that was the Patina group, right? And then we had from Wolf, Kazuto, right, Lee, Matt, everyone had to come to my market. And that's how I met every chef in LA.
Did you meet Hero with like Schwan and Maine and all that?
Oh,
stuff?
Absolutely. We were the only spot when they needed long beans, when they needed like morning glory. Dude.
Wow.
I was the decipherer of all these ingredients, dude.
That's really cool because, I mean, there's also the Morning Glory tool, right? Where you run the rod through and you pull it and it cuts it.
Exactly.
I picked those up when I was when I went to Vietnam. There's so much cool things about food that I think are so powerful. And it's like, this is really big stuff that I don't know if people really know this deep history. I think it's really
we are you and I are getting deep into California cuisine, right? Like, yeah, the building blocks of it all was my store was right in the middle of it. So we could jump ahead a few years. So I'm 19, I'm 20, right? And I basically started teaching cooking classes out of the grocery store, out of my mom's backyard, right? Because around that time, Barbara Hansen, who wrote the LA Times Asian beat, was like, Thai food was starting to get popular, like to cook, not just to dine at.
Yeah.
I printed out little paper flyers at the store, like $35. I'll teach you 3 courses, and you come to my mom's backyard. And it was all curry, pad Thai, pad see.
This is amazing.
Yeah, this is pre-culinary school, pre-working in commercial restaurants. I'm like 19 years old, and Barbara Hansen snuck in because she was a frequenter of the market, wrote a cover story of my cooking class, and in that first weekend, I got like 1,000 phone calls because it was the LA Times Wednesday food section, and it was a cover story about me teaching cooking classes and kind of spreading the history and the tradition of my family. And that was the moment I needed to go to culinary school, like real culinary school.
So let's talk about, you just said something that I think is really important. You and I grew up with the Wednesday food section.
Yes.
The LA Times, the New York Times,
yes,
Washington Post.
Exactly.
Right? And if you didn't read those, you got a good bollocksing at the restaurant you were working at, because everybody, or you would have to, like, I was too broke as a cook. All right, I'm going to give you a good one. When I first met my wife, I was working at Red Sage for Mark Miller in Washington, D.C.
Right.
I used to, she lived in a major complex, like this big building out, not too far, but it was in DC proper, right? Near Mount Pleasant. But when I would have to go to work, I was an opening production cook in the kitchen, but I was too broke, right?
Totally.
I made my first job out of culinary school. I turned down a $40,000 a year sous chef job. This is in '94.
Wow, huge job.
$9 an hour as a prep cook to work for Mark Miller. I thought my mom was going to beat me to death because I had all these debts, and I'm moving to DC for $9 an hour. But when I would leave, and this is like, no cell phones. Let's just put this into perspective, right? This is '94. I would leave her apartment, and I would walk down the halls, and the newspapers would be in front of I would filter through somebody's newspaper on Wednesday, take the food section, leave the paper, just the food section, and ride my bike to work. And then
amazing. That was your way.
That was my only way to read it. And then I would share it with the team who was coming into work, and then I'd fold it up and bring it home. And then, she would have a copy in the office. And at that time, Tatiana was Mark Miller's marketing director and assistant.
Get out of here.
So, but I just couldn't afford it. But it was,
no, I get it.
It was part of the questions in the kitchen, right? Like, hey, did you see the New York Times today? Did you read that review? That doesn't happen as much anymore. Like,
well, we grew up in the age of no internet, right? Everything is instantly right here. When we were 19 and 20 and 21, there was no information exchange. There was no one place. So we had to read the newspaper every Wednesday to know what's going on.
And if a friend went to a restaurant, you'd get them to take the menu. Can I see the menu? You make photocopies of that. Like, that was a different time. And I think the New York Times is still Wednesday food section, super important.
Yep.
I think all those things, like really paying attention, I think it's important. I feel that sometimes that moment of sitting down and reading that paper and having coffee is like really important. It sets the tone.
Yeah. It also makes you feel grown up. There's a point where you're not a cook and you're a chef now, and you actually get to sit and drink coffee and watch your people do what they do and read the newspaper. Do you know what I mean? There's also that rite of passage I think we get to, whatever age that is, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's just so crazy to like think about. But the fact that you talked about, do you still have that, Matt? Do you still have that paper?
I'm staring at the article right now. Yeah, like
awesome.
I had it framed, and it was something 1998. I mean, that'll put it into perspective of how long ago that was, dude.
Wow. So that was 1998. So I had already moved to California.
You were, because there's about 4 or 5 years between us, I think.
Yeah. So I had just moved to San Francisco in '96, and I was working at Rubicon.
crazy, man. So I finished culinary. I went to culinary school, not a fancy one here in LA,
Yeah.
because I couldn't afford to go to CCA at that time, which was like great in California,
Yeah.
and CIA obviously, but I didn't have any money. You know what I mean? There was just my grandmother, you know, God bless her soul, passed away, who was like my big culinary teacher, and I dropped out of high school. You know what I mean? I fucked off high school, and you know, an Asian kid dropping out of high school, not favorable to begin with. I mean, you know, let's be real. So my grandma passes right around that time, and I'm like, the article comes out. I'm starting to get a tiny bit of attention in my little city, and I'm like, I'm gonna put. She left me 20 grand, and to me, that was like, that could have been 100 grand, right? And I'm like, I'm gonna put this bet on culinary school. So I went to this local culinary school. But what did I do when I came out? I knew every single chef in LA because they shopped at my grocery store. So instead of going right into a restaurant, I went to work for Russ Parsons at the newspaper. I wanted to write articles. I wanted to get published. So I spent about a year and a half at the Times. So that was my real first job out of culinary school.
That's crazy.
Yeah, dude, I wrote articles. I tested recipes. And then I worked for Neil Fraser at Grace.
Yeah.
That was great. Yeah, I worked at Hungry Cat for a stint. Yeah. And then that's when I got with you know, Jim Dodge, who was the chef of the Stanford Court, pastry chef then, and he was at Bon Appetit. And then I basically traveled all over America creating the Asian, you know, programs for big tech companies and big corps. So I went into corporate, like big food service. So
that's you just connected a dot with me that I don't think we realized we had, which is Jim Dodge.
Oh man, what's your Jim Dodge connection?
I met Jim Dodge, God, I can't even remember how many years ago. And then I'll never forget, it was at Encanto. I'd only been there for a little bit, and Jim Dodge comes into the dining room.
And he was the man, right? I mean, these are the times when everyone knew Jim Dodge.
Everybody knew Jim Dodge. Jim Dodge walks in, and I am like shaking, right?
Right.
And for the folks who don't know who Jim Dodge is, let's just like,
yeah.
I think he is an icon. I mean, he set the bar for breads and pastries, and just really, really worked towards changing the perception of culinary and large scale dining. He went from baking and pastry, training thousands of people all over the country to be the best. I mean, you can buy his books. Like, he's amazing. He sits down in the dining room, and he sat down with Tina Salter from PBS. She brought him in to have dinner, and I was so nervous.
It was one of those meals where you just shit in your pants.
Yeah, and it's like, now I'm sure people are like, Jim Dodge?
No one would even know anymore. Not in this generation.
I remember shaking, cooking for him, and we became friends after that. And it just became like, he brought Fergus Henderson to Encanto.
That's right. Probably because of a Bon Appetit tour of America or something like that.
Correct. And he came to eat. He said, Chris, I hear you're doing this head to tail dinner. Can I bring you Fergus and Trevor? And I was just like, I love you. I love you. And he's like,
but you, Chris, you were our Fergus. Because I remember, I'm in that sub-generation. Fergus was doing it in England. You were the guy that we all knew was doing it here. So that's another connector, brother. That's why I was such a big fan.
I'll tell you a funny story. I'll never forget. Jim's in the dining room, and Fergus, like, people were freaking out in the streets. This was like, people were lining up to come into the restaurant. We used to sell out, you know, the head to tail dinners like that, and people had heard Fergus was coming. So I mean, there was a fucking line down the street, and I'm shitting myself because to me, it's Jim,
right?
But it's Fergus. I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna wet the bed. It's gonna be over, and I've got a kid in the kitchen. You know, I've got a great team, and we're all humping. And there was one particular course I'll never forget. It was a block of head meat that it was like a trio, right? Of, you know, head and tongue or whatever. And John Relihan, he was one of the interns. He was the first intern to leave 15 in London and come to the United States. He worked for me. In total, it was about 8 years. And he had been with me, we were on like just at a year. And he's looking out there and he's like, oh, chef, oh my God, thick County Kerry accent. Oh man, that's Fergus is out there. And I was like, yeah, John, I know. Come on, fuck all. Let's go, kid. Come on, we're working. And it's an open kitchen. And he misses the order in.
Oh man.
And the thing about the block of head meat is you had to start to sear it and just render it in the oven so it got crispy on all sides.
Forever, yeah.
It took time, and there was like basting involved in a process. And I looked in the past. It's like literally there's like a plate stack above me, and I can slide my head in, and I'm like, John, how long? And he's like, 5 minutes. And I look at the clock.
Oh,
bye. John, how long? 5 minutes. And then I started getting louder because I was getting frustrated because I was nervous. I'm like so scared. And, Fergus has Parkinson's, and this is prior to his implant. So he's having tremors. And I'm like, fuck, man, we need to get him some food. You got to hurry up. And we didn't have Fernet, and he kept taking cigarette breaks because that calmed his nerves. And finally, I was just like, fuck it. Send somebody down the street, go buy a bottle of Fernet, put it on his table. It'll calm his nerves. I don't give a shit. I don't want him having tremors. And
right.
And I look in and I just go, John Relihan, give me head right now. Not even thinking what I'm saying. And John's like, it's not ready. I was like, I want head now, John. And
in an open kitchen.
Kitchen, full volume. The entire dining room looks over, and I'm like, oh, that was loud.
You thought about what you said.
It took me a minute to process, and I come back, and finally the dish, it's out, it's all good. It was a multitude of things, right? Like everything else was moving. I didn't have the ability to flip a table, because it was couldn't play the game. I almost had a heart attack, and then of course I go to the table, and Fergus goes, "So, do you ask all your employees to give you head?" And I was like, I just put my head down in shame, and I was like, I was asking for the dish, Fergus. And he goes, I know, but I don't think the dining room understood what you were.
Oh, man. And that terrible 10 minutes is like one of the best stories of your life. I mean, think about that.
Still to this day.
About it. Oh my God. And most people don't know Fergus Henderson or Jim Dodge anymore. Like that generation of chef is gone. And then what a cool connector between us. I spent 3 years of my life on the road with Jim, and openings and trainings and, tech and universities were blowing up, and no one was doing high-end volume food.
Yeah. And
that's what I was doing. I was doing Asian cafes everywhere in the country. And then I'll fast forward. I came back, and I was asked by Steve Wynn to go open Encore Hotel. So that's where you and I also have a Vegas connection.
Yep.
So I was executive chef Asian dining at Encore from 2007 till 2011. And that's where I did my time there. And whilst I was at Encore, I was asked to battle Morimoto on Iron Chef. So here's all the connectors, bro. Oh my God, that is hysterical. Let's go back to the dark times really quick. So
can you please state your last name?
My full and true last name is, I go by Tila, but my real last name is Tila Kamanku.
And why is now your last name Tila?
In 2004 or 2003, I just dropped out of high school, and I was ridiculously making trouble all over Los Angeles. And I come home, and my parents are basically frantically burning documents in the chimney. And I'm like, what the hell is going on? And I've never told the story on a broadcast before. And I promised you in the car this would be the first time. My father was known for importing Thai food. First guy in America, in this entire country of ours. To break rules, he paid this customs officer to smuggle in containers of clothing from Body Glove, that we all know those brands at our age, for manufacturers in Thailand. And he's like, we're moving to Thailand in a week and you're coming with us because we're in big trouble. And I'm like, fuck you guys, I'm not moving to Thailand. There's no way. She's like, the law is gonna, basically that morning, the customs raided my family's business, right? Guns, the whole deal, bunch of people, search warrant, the whole deal. And my father was charged with smuggling. And my entire life basically was upside down. I come home and I'm like, we're leaving. And I'm like, I'm not going. So as I got into my chef career, my cooking career, I started getting published at the LA Times. I knew that my name was going to be on the masthead, on bylines. So I changed my name to Tila, from Tila Kamankwal. There you go, Cosentino.
And I mean, that's serious shit. Like, it's no joke.
Yeah, no, it was real. So,
I mean, we're laughing about it in jest right now because we had the conversation in the car and I knew this was coming and like we discussed being able to talk about this, but that's a big deal. And I mean, you're a young man and you have to like change your last, cut your last name in half,
right,
and really kind of shift yourself. And that's a lot.
I mean, imagine this family business that was well regarded and kind of world renowned. All of a sudden, you think it's all going to go away, and your entire reputation as a person, through your name, through your family, is going to be tainted for life, right? So basically, what we did was just, after they did go to Thailand. By the way, my family basically packed all their shit and left this country. And I went with them for that initial few months, with no intentions of ever staying. And subsequently, what he did was shitty, and he did break the law. He needs to come to Jesus with that, right? I was not involved. I was 17 years old, but it wasn't drugs. He didn't kill anyone, right? They basically had to rebuild the part of the business that was always legitimate. But the one thing that he did as an idiot will always be the black mark. And to this day, my father's never been back. So all those times that those people that are listening to this podcast and watching going, hey, where's your dad? And what are you doing? I've made excuses for 20 years about my dad's, he's retired. He's happier in the other country. This is the real. My dad can never come back, or he has to face these charges. And which shapes you as a man, right? Because if you know me, and I think a lot of people watch me on TV, I'm about owning my mistakes and taking responsibility. So it's shame. There's shame there when I'm cut from that cloth, and my father, clearly there were parts of him that wasn't. So through my entire formidable years, from 17 to 40 something, I had to struggle with the shame and still build this business and start from zero. We did really well. We were really poor. We did really well. Then we lost everything again, and then I had to rebuild. So there are a lot of lessons there, a lot to unpack.
And all to smuggle in bright pink and green.
Oh, the worst.
Of just for that band that used to sing back when we were in college, right? What was that band?
God, was it? Yeah.
We'll remember that band.
Yeah.
I remember they sang when I was in college once.
I mean, if you dig into the case, guys, and now that it's all coming out, if you look at this case and my last name, the customs guy was actually moving dope for like all these other like smarter people than my dad, like
smuggling clothes.
Yeah, the dude wanted to smuggle clothes for like a few G's a shipment, when these dudes were probably making millions of shipments. So when the guy finally got busted, guess who he rolls on? The guy who's got no mob ties, who thinks he's smart, but he's just some ghetto kid from Bangkok. So they basically rolled on my dad, and it is what it is. So just to be very clear, I was 17 years old. I was 14 when he started to do all that. This had nothing to do with me.
No, and I think it's, but what the point is, and then you talking about this, I think is really about, talking about what you went through as a kid to get where you are today.
That's it.
That has long lasting impressions on you personally, physically, and mentally, which makes you become the person you are today.
Yeah, nothing steals you and forges you and tempers you like trauma, right? And the positives are you're tough as hell. Nothing can faze you. When you're self rebuilt, no one has anything. The negative parts are the goddamn trauma that it created that I had to work through these last 20 years. And that's a whole nother conversation about chefs and mental health. Because yes, I had my shit, but I know for a fact that a majority of us that have worn the whites and had done this for a living, we struggle a lot with addiction and a lot of other mental, because of our trauma. So I don't think I'm any more extraordinary than anyone else. I'm just here to share my story that you can overcome any that bullshit.
And I think that's really important, because we all look at, I've heard people say this all the time, be nice because you don't know what somebody else is going through. And I think that's a really, really important saying, because nobody knows what's going on, right? And I mean, you and I talked about this. We talked about this on our last, shoot time, like about mental health and, how I addressed it. And I'm totally comfortable saying I go to crazy school and I take crazy pills, and not to be crazy, to curb the crazy. That's why I haven't had a drink in 3.5 years, because it affects the medicine. I think it's all really understanding who you are so you can make better steps to move forward. Life is not about looking backwards. It's about looking forwards. And if you can correct with each step of the way, you're making progress.
You nailed it, dude. Whenever you're talking to your fellow person, right, you don't know what the shit they're going through. They don't know what you're going through. So I think that's what kind of, you and I instantly hit it off, because I think we have generally the same attitude, right? Like, be your best self. Don't crush on people for ego, and treat people how they treat you. But I think we always give the person the benefit of the doubt, because we've gone through so much crap in our lives that you can just assume that a lot of people are probably going through the same thing. And it's just so much easier to make friends than enemies. And if you have to make an enemy, go for it, because someone provoked you, right? I mean, I'm known for being aggressive when it's the right time, but that's not my first foot. My first foot is being kind, humble, right, and hungry. And then after that, so anyway, it's a lot, man. We've unpacked so much.
It's a can of worms. It's been good. So let's talk about, like, right now, you have been, you have 2 cookbooks out. You've done, the list shows. I have to take off my shoes to get all the numbers of shows you're doing. So how did that all start? Like, you battled Morimoto, and then it started rolling from there, right?
Yeah, so 1999, so going back to around all this time, the shit went down with my family, and I went to culinary school. Living in LA gives you, cooking in LA, and I think anyone who cooks in LA in the 90s will tell you, you are always around television personalities. So either behind the camera, in front of the camera, whatever. So I met a pretty big deal producer at that time. So just ridiculous trivia. My first time on Food Network was a show called The Best Of, and I was pimping pad Thai kits. I created the first Thai website but the funny thing is, the segment next to mine was a personal chef service, and it was a dude named Andrew Zimmern, who was a personal chef at that time. It was a very different Andrew than you all know now. Trust me, those of us that have known Andrew a long time, it was a different Andrew. Jump ahead, Morimoto, Iron Chef. I almost beat the guy, so I don't know. I lost by 2 points, right? I think I should have won. That's a whole nother conversation.
I have to say, I lost by 1 point.
Exactly. That's why I bring it up, because we both lost like you off by one. I wanted to leave cooking because I met the woman of my dreams. And when you ask, what do you give up to do this? You give up family. You give up personal time. You can't have a restaurant and restaurants and an empire or a micro empire and be there for your kids and your wife 100%. You have to pick one or the other. So I spent most of my life in the business because my family was in it. We have a terrible relationship. So once I decided to marry the woman of my dreams, I decided to leave cooking. I left Vegas, and when I got to LA, at that point, Giada De Laurentiis hooked me up with William Morris, and I got an agent. And my first pitch, my agent was like, "Hey, there's this television show we want you to try out for to judge. It's Cutthroat Kitchen with Alton Brown." And that was it. That was the phew. I judged Cutthroat Kitchen for many, many episodes. The show had a 200 episode run. Alton and I became very, very close friends. And that led to meeting Bobby on Food Network Star, which led to meeting Guy. And, I just sit down, take notes, do my job, and know that, and you and I know that, but people need to know that cooking is a muscle, television is a muscle. They're not the same muscle. We have to learn both things, right?
Oh my God, it's so different. Like, I always love when you're doing, right? I always love that moment. You're in like the thick of it, and they come over, and I love Simon, but he's like, "What you working on?"
Yeah.
How about fuck off, Simon? I like
and you can't, and you can't.
So you have to be able to process, and that's what we're thinking in our head at the moment. Like, I just need to get this done. Please don't make me talk. But we've learned to be able to communicate, and that is the hardest thing to do ever.
It is the hardest thing, and that's why, like, Guy and Alton and Bobby are masters because they're phenomenal. Really, the top 0.1% at doing that. So those of you that think you could cook, screw, like, fuck off, man. And those who think you could just be on TV because you're great, like, fuck off, because those are two such really difficult things to do. You know what I mean? It's just being honest, man.
It's so funny to think, like, you're doing this stuff and you're like, oh man, I almost got, there's moments where I was next to Iron Chef. I literally ran the cameraman over. And
that's a whole nother show I want to just sit there and talk to you about for an hour, because
I just gave 2 fucks about that dude, because he like kept poking me and bugging me, and then I burned myself, and I just ran him clean over. Went straight through. They were like, "You weren't supposed to do that." I was like, "Well, you shouldn't have touched me."
Oh my God, dude.
I almost got like no more TV fit in. But that, that was also a very different time, and I was also a very different person. And it's hard cooking and talking while still preparing. I mean,
and while entertaining, by the way, we're not just talking. We have to be funny, verbose, animated, exciting, all of these.
Can you give us a catchphrase?
Yeah, right. Yeah, I don't have one yet. I don't have. That's why
it was like, "Oh my God, that was a great soundbite." I was like, "Oh, I don't want another soundbite. Can I just finish my dish? I've only got 3 minutes."
It's amazing, dude.
That, I think people don't realize that. Let's talk about that for a minute, like how true it really is, right? Like, when we're doing, let's use Tournament of Champions, right? Like, we were both at Tournament of Champions season 2. The wheel spins. We don't know what it is prior. You don't know what you're going to get. Like, it is for real, right?
Yeah, it's legit. It's legit one of the hardest shows.
And it's impossible. Like, okay, let's compare it to other shows, right? Like, let's say you have a challenge and you have to use, and I'll use Top Chef Masters, for example, because it's something that I've seen. Or let's just use Iron Chef, right? Your battle is your ingredient, because it's similar, right? You have an ingredient, you have 1 hour, 5 dishes, right? Go. Those are your 5 dishes.
Yeah, you've cooked them. And you brought 2 of your people
to help
cook them with you.
But it's coming from here. So just so everybody understands, they reveal the ingredient, and then they stop down for 1 minute. You get 1 minute for them to recover the stuff, to do the redo, then you run up and grab it. In that 1 minute, you're sitting there leaning over to your people and going, this is what you're going to grab. This is what you're going to do. You're going to grab this equipment, this. And then you stand back, they're like, set, go. And then everybody just runs and it's full chaos. So, but at least with Iron Chef, you're cooking what you want to cook. There's no parameters other than cooked, right?
It's something you've made 100 times too.
You hope.
Yeah, right. You better have, yeah.
Now let's put the TOC or the guys' grocery games into it.
TOC, yeah, we should talk about TOC, I think, yeah, because.
So Tournament of Champions, we will call it the picky diner. That's what I like to call that wheel. It's nice. Picky diner. It's like that worst guest in the world who comes in and says, I want this with that, but it has to be like this, and I need it now. That's pretty much what.
That's exactly what it is. And not just what I want to eat, what I want you to use as a tool to cook that thing.
And so that's like somebody saying, I want egg whites, but you can't use any fat to cook them. Go for it. Like,
right. Yeah. And use a chinois somewhere. On your egg whites.
The biggest, I think the difficulty that people don't understand is like, yeah, the protein and the vegetable, fine, whatever. We can all deal with that. Mm-hmm. As soon as you put in the style, that's the king. The tool we can all figure out.
Sometimes. Sometimes. Yeah. No spoilers, by the way. Yeah, exactly. But you're exactly right, dude. It's hard. It's so hard.
And it really is the time. Like, the time is the time.
And some shows in the history of food world, not Food Network, but in all the channels, I'm sure some shows have had a little producer help, and some shows have had this or that. Tournament is raw. You have no, and all the stress is real, and it's hard as hell.
It's hard. It's hard. And then we have grocery games, which is another. Okay, so
totally.
You and I were fortunate enough to get to feed Guy eggs.
That was right. Oh, that was a rough day. And I almost had, and we had to feed him liver, and which never made the air.
Well, no, actually, no. We didn't get to feed him eggs. We got to do the offal challenge.
Yes, it was awful.
It was offal challenge. I'm getting the two confused because they were like 2 weeks apart.
Yeah, because you had eggs and offal.
I had eggs and offal.
Dude, you had the double whammy. I've only had offal.
But that was fun for us because there was no competitive element. I think that Guy's Ranch was a lot of fun for us because it's truly just cooking and hanging out.
I think it's one of the best shows on Food Network, to be honest with you. I think, A, you get to see camaraderie between friends. Yep. B, you get to see what chefs are really good at. And just those two things alone, it's like basically having a kitchen session with chefs that you like. And I think that's why it's a really great show. Really fun.
So what have you got going on right now? What are you you have 2 books. Why don't you give a shout out on the 2 books?
Yeah, let's do plugging. So we have 2 current books. As of recording this, I have 101 Asian dishes you need to cook before you die. And again, it's bestseller. It's been around forever. If you want to learn how to cook Asian food, and you want it non-intimidating, but you want to be authentic, that's the book. And then my wife and I wrote a book called 101 Epic Dishes, which is basically how to make you a better cook in general, right? So my wife was a teacher for 15 years, preschool special ed, and then LAUSD. I was a teacher for 20 years, cooking. And so 101 is the whole play on words. It's a pun about school. So January 25th, 2022, is that next year? Yeah, basically in a few weeks from now, my 3rd book is coming out. It's called 101 Thai Dishes. So it's basically the roadmap for everybody to really either start cooking Thai or just get really good at cooking Thai food. And those are the 3 books, brother. Thanks for letting me plug.
No, of course. I think they're great educational and easy to follow. I think a lot of times cookbooks can be difficult. Look, mine's fucking hard, right? Offal good. Go get a cow's udder. Here's how to cook cow's udder. Somebody's like, what the fuck is wrong with you? I think that there's definitely cookbooks out there that are great to have, They're great to put on your coffee table, and then there's ones that get really fucking dirty. And to me, they all have their place. But what I really love about your books is that they are 100% accessible for everyone. And even if you think you know what you know, there's more to learn. And I think that is the most important part about our careers. And culinarily is we always learn. We're always getting better at what we do.
Yeah, my number one passion in life is outside of my family's teaching. So I'm going to be one of those dudes that retires in about 20 years and just probably just work at a culinary school. I want to teach people how to do things every day. So these books are my way to be able to have something out there 24 hours a day that teaches people, that can hopefully shape the way they cook. And that's it, man. I mean, and so we'll see what happens. But I love writing books and I love teaching, and this is it. I love getting to hang out with guys like Chris Cosentino, man. So this has been the thrill, though. Honestly, when I pinch myself every single day. Like I sit there at a tournament and I look around and it's like, it's you and it's Faulkner and it's, like there's a group of chefs where I'm like, I can't believe I'm here right now. And what you don't get to see behind the scenes is the camaraderie and the community. And we all come from different parts of America, not me and you per se, but we came from different generations. 20 years ago, we didn't have time to chat together because we're both just killing ourselves working. And now we can sit there and do this and create and just hang out. So it's been amazing.
I think it's really fun to see, like, you have 2 children, which that's a lot. It's a handful. We talked about that too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. My wife's the saint because, she keeps it all together. My daughter's blowing kisses from off camera right now. Yeah. And we have 2 young children too. Like, we're damn near 50 and our kids are both sub 10. So, I gave my first 36 years to my career, and now I'm going to give my next 36 years to building family.
It's funny, the other day somebody said to me, why don't you have more kids? And I said, well, I did have more kids. And they're like, what do you mean you did have more kids? I was like, I did. They're called employees. They're all children. They were all people that I was mentoring for so long. And now a lot of those people have gone on to really do great things. And I'm very excited to see that for them. But I worked so much that I felt like if I did have more kids, I would not be able to give the amount of time that's needed to people.
Yeah. 1 second, sweetheart.
No, it's okay.
Yeah, of course. Say hi to Uncle Chris.
Hi.
This is
hi. How you doing?
Good.
Yeah. Does Dad need to help you with homework?
I will be in a minute here. I'll be there in 2 seconds. Okay, love you. I'll be there in a few minutes.
Okay, let's do quick rapid fire, and then you can go do homework. Is it math?
Let's do it, my man. I
you
appreciate
do math homework? What is it?
It's gonna be math for sure. Yes, I know. High school dropout, bro. High school dropout.
Don't look at me. Try dyslexic guy trying to help your kid do algebra. Oh my.
Oh, dude, I couldn't even do it. Yeah.
Okay, ready to go?
I'm ready for quick fire. Go.
Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Espresso or drip?
Oh, I'm drip. I'm ghetto. Drip all day. I didn't have an espresso nor espresso drinks until my 20s.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Dude, I remember government peanut butter. I remember government cheese. Number 10 cans of government peanut butter. Number 10, 5-pound blocks of government cheese. We were poor, and that's why Folgers, Crystals, and Sanka.
Oh yeah, Folgers, Grant. I know Folgers.
Yeah.
Coffee.
Boom, the best.
It's okay. Beer or wine?
Oh, a wine, actually.
Red or white?
Red.
If you do have beer, dark or light?
Dark for sure.
Dark for sure.
Yeah.
Oysters or clams, raw?
Ooh, I'm clams all day, and I'm gonna get flamed for that, bro.
I've been thinking with raw clams on the half shell. Woo!
Thank God, man, because we are the minority for sure.
Oh, for sure. Everybody's like, oh, they're too crunchy. All right. Shrimp or crawfish?
Oh, shrimp.
Lobster or crab?
I'm lobster over crab.
Really?
Yeah, crab, too much work. And only few crab are sweeter than lobster. Not all crab.
Dungeness crab though.
Ooh, man, Chris, we were best friends until that. No, I'm kidding. Ooh, king crab.
King crab, yeah.
King-
Dude, there's so many like spider crabs, and then you
Yes.
Dorchester crabs. Oh my god,
A paleo crab too, snow crab, I think is delicious. So
so much. Okay.
I know we can go deep.
Jeez Louise.
Yeah.
This could get really funny. Okay.
Yeah.
Noodles or pasta?
Ooh, come on, man. You know, like I
Thing is
would
pasta.
say I'm learning. Yeah, exactly. At 50 now, I'm starting to get into pasta. Put that in your brain, it'll hurt. Like, yeah.
Dumplings, ravioli.
I'm gonna go dumplings.
You're gonna go dumplings.
Yeah, yeah. I've eaten more dumplings than ravioli. In this age, I'm starting to understand Italian food. I haven't been to Italy yet. Don't kill me.
No, God.
Don't kill me. Yeah.
I've never been to Thailand, but I've been to Vietnam.
Oh, there you go. That's the next show. Tell someone to make that a show.
What? You and I go into
I
different.
take you to Thailand. You take me to Italy.
We can do the noodle tour.
It's pasta, dumplings, and pasta, bro.
Oh my God, that could be really fun.
I know. All right, I'm gonna make a note of that.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Now I've like lost my track. Okay, hamburger, hot dog,
Hamburger.
ketchup or mustard?
Oh man, people are gonna hate me, but I'm such a West Coast guy. Obviously, it's ketchup, dude. I put ketchup on hot dogs.
Oh, 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 oh,
Oh, I've lost all chef cred.
oh my God. Whoa. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, that just hurt here.
I'm sorry, bro.
Burrito, taco,
Taco.
beef or pork?
Oh, pork. I can all day.
Duck or chicken?
Duck, duck, duck. No hesitation.
Fruit or chocolate?
Oh, fruit. Yeah.
Diversity's so good with it,
Yeah, exactly.
right?
If I had to pick one for the rest of my life and cut the other, it'd be fruit all day.
Brown spirits, white spirits.
Ooh, that's a really good one. I drink more white spirits than brown, although brown sounds more sophisticated.
Yeah, I used to have a saying, drink brown, it don't stay down.
Ah, that's a good one. That is true too. That's really true.
Never liked me. Oh man, I was quite awful. Okay. Sea urchin, caviar.
Oh man, that's a really hard one. I'm gonna go urchin. It's hard to find good urchin, but at their peak, urchin is best, in my humble opinion.
What is your favorite fast food?
Kentucky Fried Chicken. All day, every day. Dude, I ate more fast food than cooked food for a big time in my life. Are you kidding?
I actually like.
What's yours? I'm not going to let this thing end until I know yours.
Okay. I'm not done yet, but I'll get
Okay,
to
okay, go.
Okay. Guilty pleasure.
Oh, guilty pleasure. Oh, dude. Fried chicken wings. It still goes back to Kentucky Fried Chicken, but that's really a guilty pleasure of mine.
What would be your last?
Oh, stewed pig feet. Sorry.
Oh, that's a good one. I like that one.
Yeah, five spice braised pig's feet. Yeah.
Ooh, that sounds good.
Yeah.
What would be your last meal?
5 spice braised pig feet and jasmine rice. That's it. The fattier, the better. Like splitting the trotter and just eating all the gristle and the fat and the skin. So good.
Okay, last one. Favorite candy.
Oh man, I think I'm a Twix guy.
Really?
Very simple. Yeah.
You went back to chocolate. Interesting.
I know, but candy, there's no fruit, really real fruit candy, right?
There's Swedish fish. That's a candy. No, wait, that's not really.
How dare you?
It's meant to taste like cherry.
Exactly. Oh man. All right, before we wrap, what was your favorite fast food?
Favorite fast food for me is by far probably pizza.
Oh, good one. You didn't go brand. I like that. And then lastly, what would be your last meal?
That's straight up. It's been the same thing for going on 20 years. Blood sausage, duck egg, grilled bread, and oysters, poached oysters in pork stock.
Man, you that was very specific and sounds delicious.
The reason being it's earth, sea, land, and air. It's all of it in one.
See, like you're smart, dude. That's how smart people
I
are.
wouldn't say that's smart. It's just all those flavors, the blood, but then it has the earthiness. You have the ocean from the oysters, but then you have the grains to make the bread. You know, it just, and the duck egg, the bird, like they all blend really well together. It's actually, I used to run it on the menu. I used to call it Chef's Last Supper.
Oh man, I love it. I love it. Yeah, my last meal was my grandma's food. That pig trotter was always made every week because it was cheap as hell and it was delicious.
Oh my God, pig's feet. Pig's feet are magic. I love them, always have.
Yeah.
Well, I know you have to go do math homework.
That's right. I'm gonna go dad now and give my wife a break.
Yeah, but thank you very much for spending time with me. I really appreciate it. And yeah, hopefully we can connect soon.
Chris, one of the best things about end of 2021 and the top of 2022 is becoming your friend and getting to know you better. And you've been a true idol and inspiration for me for many years. And let's just continue this friendship, bro. And thanks to everyone else out there for listening to my crazy stories. And have a great year. Like happy New Year.
Happy New Year, everybody. And Jet, thank you so much. Give my best to your family. And I have a feeling I'm going to see you next week.
I will see you next week, bro. Take care.
Cheers. Bye.